So, hi Sumanji, how are you doing? And could you just introduce yourself before we start with our conversation on mental health?
Sure. First of all, thank you, Shraddha, for inviting me to this discussion. And yes, I'm Suman Maheshwari, and very well known as a counselor, and also I'm more into DMIT, that is fingerprint analysis, and also I'm a graphologist, and also passionate rider, and I cook well. And so instead of adding to a lot of ants, I would say I'm an enthusiast who likes to explore whatever I find is, sinking with, be it dance or writing, content. I want to do everything. But yes, to be more specific, a counselor or a mental health enthusiast, first of
That's great, wonderful.
all. Thank
It's really
you.
wonderful to know that you do so many things and you are so passionate about contributing yourself to this particular field and the importance of why mental health needs to be addressed and focused on. So, since like I've been knowing you for almost a year now, and I've been seeing that, you have started this initiative of mental health, especially for women. So basically a monthly camp, which you do for, especially for women's mental health and wellness. So could you just elaborate a little at what was the purpose for you to start this and why you were targeting specifically women here?
Okay. So thank you for asking me this question. The thing is, I've been working as a counselor. I've been contributing myself to the society as a counselor for almost like more than 10 plus years now. And during this entire experience, what I found was people come up with problems to me wherein there is no gender biasness, practically, in the fact that, okay, if it is a male or a female, they both have their own kind of problems. But when it comes in a group, okay, individually is fine, a person is able to share. But when it comes to a group, and if it is a mixed group, then, men generally tend to not speak out. And mental health and the mental well-being, rather, I would say, is such a topic where it's not only about, a point where you feel, okay, I need to go and express myself. It is something where when you are discussing something with some other person, you also come to know your perspective about it. Okay, so basically now from individual counselings, I wanted to move to group counselings because many a times we don't know internally the problem that we are facing. And there was one more reason why I started with this camps is women when they used to come for counselings. Okay, so I had around 2 to 3 instances where they became overwhelmed while sharing their own, whatever they were going through. That overwhelmness led to a point where they didn't want to continue ahead. And it was not very comfortable for me too, because somewhere or the other, we have to face our own fears. But when it comes to that particular point, and when we feel that we are not prepared for it, so we leave scary. Because then that is, taken, I mean, you take that with you, you stay with that for quite a long time. But the emotional processing, it is not able to be completed. So then within this women's community, what I thought is that I want to have such a community where any women who is enthusiastic about their mental wellness are aware or are conscious about what they are doing, or at least they have that hint within them that I want to do something for myself. Okay, in this mental well-being spree, I want to add on what I could help myself. So in that regards, I started with this community. What I do is we have a small, and for 5 continuous days, 1 hour a day, we have this discussion going on where we introduce you to very basic, aspects like gratitude, like journaling, like your physical health and mental health. How are they combined? The influence you are into. But once you are okay with this, basic things, then when you enter the community, you know what is happening within that. I mean, for example, we write gratitude every day. So just think of it. The first thing when you pick up your phone. Instead of scrolling or checking your emails, you are writing the 3 good points that you are very happy about. So that is what we have started. And this is the initiative. Of course, going ahead, I would want my community to be stronger. And there is one sentence that I use in my counseling sessions, that this counseling process will be complete when I feel you no longer need me. Okay. So within this community also, I wish this community goes ahead, whether I am being part of it or not. But it should be the intention that it has started. I want that to be, going on for a longer period of time. It should be helping people in their mental well-being, specifically women.
Great, wonderful. So I feel this is a very good initiative which you started, because often what happens is even women who come individually, they feel that they are alone in this particular journey. But I think when they hear other women also going through the same kind of issues, they feel that they're not alone, and probably they even find good friendships over the period of time when they're in a community. So I think this is a very wonderful thing which you have started. Especially, I feel this will benefit homemakers, because they most of the time are not able to step out of their houses because of some household responsibilities. And I feel this community will really work out well for them. So I also hope that this will grow and it will reach every woman on this planet, and it forms more than an international community, I would say, so that everybody feels
Okay,
safe.
thank you so much. Yes, yes. Because if today's generation like yours, if you are able to think in that lines, okay, I'm sure.
Great. So coming to the next question, since most of us who actually know you, we know that you're a DMIT expert. So there is still a lot of unawareness about what DMIT is and how it can basically benefit someone who's actually doing it, and what kind of people can benefit from it. So can you just shed some light on what exactly it is?
Yeah, sure. So DMIT, I've been associated with, DMIT and counseling is associated with that. Why I'm using the word counseling over here is that actually DMIT is we scan your fingerprints and we generate a report. Addition to that, the counseling part, once the report has been generated, we associate you with your overall personality and characteristic. Okay, so in basic, I mean, this contains the definition of what DMIT would be. Now, what happens is taking the fingerprints, that is taking the scans, generating a report, that has become a worldwide. I mean, a lot of people do that. I totally understand. But when it comes to counseling,
Hmm.
it's a very, very niche factor where you associate the person and their actions to their current, whatever personality they are formed with. Now, that doesn't depend only on the person.
Okay.
Okay, for example, if I have taken a DMIT report of an 8-year-old child,
Hmm.
now the overall experience of the child is also going to play a role in how their personality is being developed.
Okay.
So it is going to depend on, okay, so how they are supporting him or her, or how they are, trying to, because as a parent, we always want good for your child.
Correct.
Okay. And what happens is the difference where the child also, along with having those good parts, it also understands the insecurities, the worry, the fear that the parent goes. And along with that, even the parents have their own challenges to face. For example, moving from one place to another. For example, a job shift, or any of the parent has lost their job. Or if they are planning for their future something, they have to consider even the child's education. They look for something else and the child is interested in something else. There are a lot of factors. So this is an aspect to a child. When I think about a grown up, or for example, a teenage person, specifically, now there is a lot of confusions these days
Yeah.
because opportunities, I would say the education overall, there are so many streams which you can get enrolled into. So it's a huge confusion. And people in many houses yet feel, okay, a degree additional to your name, it acts as a lot of support for you. I also totally, I mean, no judgment on that. There is a possibility. Some places it also does. But then even the creative aspect, for example, if a child is an artist, okay, but then associating the commercial aspect to it, that gives a very unfair judgment, because the child being creative is its own strength, which they are born with.
Yes.
And not able to pursue that strength is, it's like, a squirrel wants to climb a tree. But
Hmm.
then you are trying to control the squirrel. Okay, I will give you nuts. You don't climb that tree because the tree, you may fall down, you may die. Then even that concept, if I have to associate it with, the this kind of perspective. But also one more thing that uh, these days, even children are having a lot of issues. Like, for example, if we say anger issues are there, not getting along issues are there, not want to sit at one place and study issues are there. and they don't want to, what do we say, be socially right. Okay, I mean, if I want to go and sit on auntie's sofa with both my legs on the sofa, then nobody should be telling me don't do it because it's my right to freedom. A
Hmm.
lot of things are there. So here, once we come to understand what is the child's personality, what are its inborn characteristics, be it a child or be it teenager, you are able to understand and then act consciously about it. For
Okay.
example, I will just tell you a small story. There was a friend of mine who was at the age of 38. He got, boundary line diabetes.
Okay.
Sugar thing. He just had it. And we knew each other since college days. So, and he was really doing very well in his profession also. So, with that boundary line diabetic, we just all of a sudden we met coincidentally, and then he was still talking to me about he now I won't be able to eat my favorite food. I have to take care of myself and all those things. Then I told, okay, ठीक है. Then he asked me about what do I do. I introduced DMIT to him. He was very curious about it. So, and I'll be very frank here, most of the people do it out of curiosity. So then that's the reason I feel the awareness is much more needed. So he did this DMIT test out of curiosity, and we came to understand he is having a strength in creativity somewhere. So I just asked him randomly, "Have you been pursuing anything creative in your life, which remember of your childhood days or your college days? Because your someplace creativity has been shown, and that is at a great percentage." So he told, "Yeah, during childhood, I used to draw on the walls with charcoal.
Okay. Oh, wow.
People used to be very happy about it. Yeah. So that was his creativity, and he remembers it so well. But then
Yeah.
I told, how long you have not touched it? Then he said, nothing more. One day dad saw me drawing, scribbling on the wall. He came and he gave me a good, nice slap, and he told me, these things are not going to help you to grow or progress in life. So after that day, then I thought it's not worthwhile, and I didn't do anything in this stream. Then I just suggested him that how about pursuing something in that manner.
Hmm.
So he literally took it seriously and he joined a drawing class.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and after a year's time, I actually attended his exhibition. He was that good. But the best part was the diabetes boundary line, everything was good.
Yeah, correct.
No, yes, I don't associate anything which is at the medicine level with DMIT. That would
Correct.
be wrong if I do so.
Mhm.
But yes, when we are going to your core personality, when we are understanding your strengths and weaknesses through DMIT, it definitely helps you at a lot of places where even we can't say, okay, it is going to help you that way.
Correct.
That
So
is
I
that
think,
is how, yeah,
yeah, so that's what like DMIT, as you said, it helps to a person to find out its strength, right? His or her strength. So I think when one person is doing what their actual purpose is, or they're pursuing their strength, I think automatically the stress levels are going down in the body. And
yes,
maybe that is why the borderline diabetes, which your friend was diagnosed with, probably that also came back to the normal range, because probably his diabetes was because of stress, not because probably his dietary preferences or whatever he was eating. So once maybe he found his purpose or channelized his hobbies, he kind of maybe, got better at his mental health also. And definitely then subsequently that might have
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
made
So what
him.
happens is, see, how do we see it? That if there is something within you,
Hmm.
okay, so that thing is something like an energy which is not going to die. It will
Correct.
just be there. So what happens is when we are not using it, it
Hmm.
is just there lying around. And when actually, it's very crude to say that, but then there is a sentence which which is said that a lot of people die with a lot of music within them, right? So my entire mission statement would be, I would want you to play all the music available within you. So that is how we see. Yeah. So it may not be. I mean, I'm not very sure it was the DMIT or it was his creative ability. But one thing was for sure that he liked to do something. And that liking he had sabotaged at some place. I mean, he thought it is not, worthwhile, or it is not something which I should be pursuing it. But
Okay.
once he started doing that, maybe you can call a lot of emotions are involved here. Self satisfaction is involved. Then while you are doing something that you like, at that time, you are out of that zone, which is actually stressful.
Correct.
Because, in this today's world, a lot of places where maybe the work is not stressful, but then the things associated with that, meetings, presentations, blah, blah, a lot of things are there in corporate life. That becomes stressful. So maybe that space, that small space where you feel, okay, I'm not about this world, me and my world is here. So that's a very beautiful, space to be.
Great. So I think this is a very good example you've given. The DMIT basically is not related to only any age group, but anybody who
Yes.
would want to kind of know their strengths and weaknesses can actually go for this particular modality. Great. So, since I know that you are also a relationship and family coach, so these days, there are a lot of, since I am from a millennial generation, uh, I find that today relationships have, become I don't think we can label emotions these days. So I just want to know your take on what is the difference majorly you have seen in relationship dynamics within the millennial generation and the Gen Z generation, and shed some light on how actually emotional intimacy is a problem these days. Like many people are facing emotional intimacy issues, especially the Gen Z generation, I would say. So if you can just shed some light on how this difference is there and why is it there.
Okay, I would say in this world, nothing is static. Okay. So every moment there is a new evolution coming on. So even in relationship, maybe the dynamics may change, but yeah, that basic, characteristics that we need,
Mm,
something like, taking care of each other, something like giving time, space to each other. So all those things, these are the very basic emotions that I'm talking about. Now what happens is, I understand that we label here Gen Z, we label them millennials, and we find their difference also. But then the world around is changing,
mm,
actually. So I would say people are just trying to fit in. So even within the premises of being emotionally associated with each other or being into relationship, again, people are trying to fit in.
okay.
Okay. And now with this social media around us, we come to know a lot about, or maybe we come to know about something which may not be even existing. But yes, like for example, when a lady has to enter the car, the guy opens the door for her. And then at some space, I found that now he doesn't open the door for me. I
Mm,
think so. He doesn't like me anymore. You know,
okay.
these kind of specifics when people comes up with.
Mm,
So it is practically, maybe I'm not coming from this generation, but for me, things are surprising. But yes, knowledge, learnings too. So here, there something I have already written so that I can mention here.
mm,
Okay. So where the people are evolving is at the levels of caring, levels of being there, understanding the outer world, giving space, then mutual understanding, issue solving, and communication. People are working on this. Awareness about patriarchy traditions.
mm,
It's a very huge one because many a times the guy he expresses that okay, I don't believe in all these things, but when it comes to the lady, she's traveling alone in late nights. He will
mm,
feel scared
mm,
that she won't be able to take care of
correct.
herself.
Mhm,
Then there are, there are things like health, physical and mental health for both of them.
mhm,
Then believes in work-life balance because now both of them go for having their own careers.
correct. Yes.
Then setting boundaries. I love this aspect very much because earlier it was more about ownership of the other person.
Mm,
Okay, like this person belongs to me, sort of a thing. Now, more than ownership, it is about setting boundaries wherein you're the better person, be it a girlfriend or be it, just on a friendly level or be it your wife,
okay.
all the levels. The other person, if they are with their own set of friends,
Mhm,
okay, so now be it a male or a female, they feel it's okay. They are at that level, and also if at a certain place some one person feels okay, I want to watch a football match.
mm,
So earlier I could say at some places it was patriarchy. मुझे जाना ही है, nobody can stop me. Some places people used to ask मैं जाऊं क्या. I have come up with such an environment. It was like mutual discussion. I want to do this. Can I do that? Then today it is more about okay, you have this space for you. I'll be having this space for me.
mhm,
Okay, so and also there are certain things which people do together, not
mhm,
only vacations for that matter. Even
correct.
they enroll themselves for a sport where both of them play together, spend their time together. And also these days, if I say that they want to spend their time, So there are, I mean, I think so. I've seen during my counseling interactions also, there are much more different ways people are finding out to spend time together than we actually have in our books. But there are certain things which are a little bit scary also, that I mentioned. Like, for example, due to social media, the comparative emotion, I would say, because if we find one person taking care of another in
Mm.
a certain way, and then if we set the expectations that way, it is actually like one person is making gulab jamun.
Mm.
You can't taste it, but you can see the gulab jamun is good. You try to make it, but then you don't have that cooking hands, or you don't have those kind of interest within you to actually make it.
Mhm.
It differs. So comparison is one thing that I would never support. Second is distraction. There are a lot of distractions these days. So I heard one person saying that if I have unless and until I have many relationship, I wouldn't know that I am in the right one today. Okay, and then ultimately, I think so. She got married. She had an arranged marriage, which somebody whom she knew only before a month's time.
Mm.
So she told, "Ki, I realized the red flags and the green flags in this all the experience that I had. But not everybody is comfortable doing that. Not everybody wants to check out on relationships. But I like that one sentence that lady told me, that I don't want to have a good husband, because if I'm expecting a person to be good to me, that means I am a taker. So practically, I want to be a giver myself also. What if I am that good that the person wants to get married to me?" That was very beautiful sentence that she told.
Right.
So yes, distractions are there. Then there are timing issues today. Both
Mm.
are working. Not necessarily both are having the same time to spend together. Then there are certain ways there are irresponsible behavior also. One particular thing I would like to highlight here. Many a times these days we, uh, you know, I would say the Gen Z are very much comfortable staying alone these days.
Mm.
They want to explore on their own. So somewhere they compromise around the basic hygiene of themselves,
Okay.
because nobody to actually look around, nobody to tell you that clean this stuff, keep your clothes properly,
Mm.
or take care of yourself in an overall manner. So over there what happens is, now it's like a work.
Mm.
Whatever is important, काम करना है तो उठना है. Breakfast, it's okay if I've not had it. So I would say overwhelmed, or I would say they are too much stressed
Mhm.
about just doing what is needed to do. Because I feel the small timing that we use to clean the room, or uh, take care of ourselves as far as hygiene is concerned, or putting those clothes well together, that also affects in your overall thought process. That helps you to think clearly while we
Correct.
are doing this. So some places those things are missing in today's life.
Mhm.
Then also the advertisements and the influences that you receive on social media. Everybody today wants to wear a brand
Mm.
because they've seen it somewhere or somebody wearing it. Then also commercial inclined. जितना काम है उतना ही काम करेंगे, because that is going to pay me. Rest everything. So I have seen that kind of cases too.
Mm.
Then they are supportive of I would say women, and this I'm talking about men. Probably they are supportive of women, and they would be protective. They would like to give them security, but as I told, they would want a kind of a control. Now you're having a cell phone everywhere. So
Mm.
I have seen one person. He may एक घंटा से I have put a message before an hour, and yet she has not messaged me.
Mm.
Not able to understand that the space that the other person would be into. For example, if a woman is dealing with her own emotions, she may be on leave. She's sitting at home,
Mm.
but she doesn't want to reply to anybody. So
Mm.
within that premises, even the best friend or your spouse or your boyfriend or your parents also would fall. I don't want to reply to them. I believe that space is also important.
Important.
But here, the understanding of that space, that okay, she may be into that space, is also important. So that is also one of the aspects. Then instant gratification. ये देख लिया ये मुझे चाहिए, or nothing is there. And also yes, I am into a situationship. This was a sentence that I heard last when I was traveling in a bus. I
Okay.
am into a situationship, I like this guy. I like the overall performance, but I feel, what if, there is somebody better whom would be, more comfortable with. I don't know. So just being an observant here, but yes, these things I'm hearing. And then, yes, the relationship dynamics as an overall thing, because yeah, the fact of matter is these days people are not into that saving mode.
Mm.
And I got a lot of cases where people were more depressed. First, they have to stay with each other. It was a compulsion. Second, when it comes to stress, mostly it is because of the money or your savings or your earnings and all those things. So during COVID, it hit a lot of people,
Correct.
and it hit hard.
Mm.
So over there, the entire dynamics changed, because then you were just, it was like a jail for most of the people. They have to do work from home, and most of the females, they came to me that we are just exhausted. Ghar ka kaam, inko garam khana do, and then over there, I really found yet it's a lot to work on, especially in country like India. There's a lot to work on, and one more thing I feel is that patriarchy to see in the house.
Mm.
Okay. And then when you are outside, you feel I understand everything about a woman.
Correct.
But when it comes to the actual action of it, you tend to actually copy exactly that same patriarchy that you've seen in your.
Yes.
I have seen this kind of things also happening. I would like to mention that if you are in an actual relationship, you have to be more aware and more conscious about what you're doing. So that is from my end. I hope it answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you're right. Like, I think one thing which you mentioned about that situationship thing which you said, I think that's also because of these dating apps which are, there today in social media, because I think people have so many options that they always keep trying, they try to like look for better, basically. That is the thing which has become like, rather than cherishing humans as humans, we have now been treating them like options. And that is one major, I feel, is a major difference which I feel in the current generation. Also other thing which you said that one is probably I think the Gen Z generation is self-aware about their problems, but again the action is something which is lacking. I feel right.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so I think if that action if has been taken and if they realize that it's time that they need to address their issues because again situationship and all these today is because the generation doesn't want to get stuck in any particular relationships. It could be because of their maybe the previous generation which they have seen. It could be because of that as well. I think. So yeah, maybe I think this is a very good point which you have put forward that even though there are some problems, but there are also some good points also of the current relationship dynamics which is there.
And here I would like to mention that, uh, people may be specifying, okay, these are the problems coming up, or this is not good. But there were always problems in relationships. I mean, a generation before us also,
Hmm.
problems in relationships were
Yeah,
there. But maybe people were not very much, expressive about it, or
hmm,
because of lack of that kind of a connectivity. Either they used to keep it to themselves, or whatever is happening in the house remains in the house. Nobody's actually concerned. So these are the different level of problems. Earlier, there were different level of problems.
correct.
That is all.
So basically, every generation has their own set of problems, and we need to address them in their own way. That's
Absolutely.
how it. So now, like so these days like a lot of stories I have heard even from my friends and all that how there's a lot of corporate burnout which is going on right now. Like because I think after the pandemic has hit there is some issue in the work culture in various offices where a lot of employees are feeling burnt out and they feel that their work is their only life kind of thing. There's nothing out of it. So, what would you suggest for them on a daily basis to practice? Certain tools or certain activities which they can do along with their corporate work hours or something, wherein they are able to renew themselves and not feel burnt out at the end of the day. So, if you can just suggest any.
So here I would like to put up an example. Okay, I don't know whether this example is actually fit in over here, but then this is just coming to my mind, so I thought I will put it up. So what happens is there are two monks who are going by a riverside, and these monks are talking to each other about whatever they are learning and all this stuff. Now, they see in the river there is a lady who is drowning. Okay. So one of the monks, he opens that what he was wearing, that thing, and he jumps into the river. He rescues the woman. He brings her out, and he puts that woman shawl ओढ़ी थी. He puts it on her, and once that woman is comfortable, both of them start walking again ahead. So now what happens is, थोड़ी दूर पे जाके, I mean, once they proceed to some space, then the monk who has helped the woman, he feels there is some problem with the other monk because he is just quiet and he seems to be a little bit angry. So then he initiates. He asks this monk, is there something you want to speak about? Have I done something wrong that you want to mention? What happened? Then the other monk says that, no, we are right now into the knowledge arena. We are learning something from our guru. And in this premise, you are not supposed to touch a woman. Okay. So, and you rescued that woman. And not only that, आपने अपना जो shawl था वो भी आपने उसको दे दिया. Don't you feel you've broken the rules here? So then this monk, he replies back, I think I left a woman long back. But you are, I think, so carrying it until now also in your head. So if you get that aspect, so what happens is these days, if in this dynamics, I mean, for whatever you are doing, you love to do that. But there are also people who don't like to do what they are doing, but they are yet forced to do. And there are some people who want to do or take up credit, or who feel that, okay, our presentation banao, dunga main. A lot of bullying happens, like it used to happen in the school days. And I'm talking about all these cases, these experiences that has come from the counseling experience that I had. Then there are certain places where, the bosses are, I mean, they want to work just late nights. And working extensively after work, that is when the actual work happens. Or just adding timings, okay, in the register. I work for 14 hours. And these kind of people are very, blunt about it. They want to mention it between all the socials. मेरी team it works 18 घंटे घंटे काम करती है जब मैं उनको बोलता हूँ कभी. But I feel all these things that brings up to our basic classroom, the school classroom that we were into. We like certain teachers and we don't like, but we can't leave any of them. The maths teacher is going to teach you maths. Now the basic criteria that comes up is, why are you feeling that way? Because the feeling that every child goes by is different. Now, one child who hates the maths teacher, his best friend likes the maths teacher. Because somewhere the other child feels कि अरे ये बहुत अच्छा पढ़ाती है. बोलती कैसे भी है लेकिन अच्छा पढ़ाती है. But then the person who hates maths, maybe he just likes he doesn't like the maybe the high volume of that class, that maths teacher, or he's not able to connect to the maths teacher that much. But all these things, it processes inside you. So if there is a burnout, you feel that way, it is a burnout which I think so internally you have created. For example, many of the people are too much associated with their job for two reasons. One is they don't want to face their emotions. They don't want to be into the premises within the family, those responsibilities, taking care of small things. They don't want to face that. So work becomes their cocoon.
Correct.
Second is fear. If I lose this job, how am I going to fulfill the responsibility? But doing the job from both of these fears is going to create a burnout. Because if you are doing it for the sake of completing the task with the fear that if I don't do it, they will fire me. So I think so we are already having good examples where companies are firing people not because they are not capable enough, because the company is also not capable enough of keeping them.
Correct.
And that is very, very normal. But yet we have that feeling within us. See, what if? Okay. On the other side, if you're running from your emotions and you're putting so much of stress on the work front only. So, like I told you, that 38-year-old guy, that friend of mine, who was, intentionally actually he was not doing it, but then he couldn't connect with himself. So that connection with yourself, when it loses, at that time you are definitely going to feel the burnout. You are going to be feeling stressed out because you are just running wildly without knowing where exactly you are. That is what I feel. So here, one thing, I mean, in my camp, which I've started for the women, there are very basic things that we learn. But then
Mm.
when I use that word basic, I use it for one very reason, because I want people to find them like, as easy as brushing your teeth.
Mm.
Because journaling, I do it every day because that I'm able to put up everything while I'm journaling. Okay. Now, gratitude, I do that because it gives me a sense of belonging. It gives me a sense of, I mean, instead of operating out of a sense ki, "Arey, I don't have it, I have a better sense of things that I already have." Then something like influence that we talk about. So
Mm.
if around you people are cribbing about their family, they are not happy with themselves, somewhere or the other, your mental health is also going to be getting affected
Right.
because you sit with them, you spend a lot of time with them. So influence is also something that we talk about, and also the community that you are associated with.
Mm.
Many a times we get cut off from our roots. We feel okay, all are judgmental. We don't want to go there. But
Mm.
then, maybe if you are giving some time, or we say, na, ki at least we just interest. I mean, I've seen a lot of people are more comfortable than randomly going on dating apps and talking to random people than actually building good connections with the people whom they know.
Yeah. True. This
But
is
even that brings to a burnout. That is what I've seen. So I would say instead of actually, just we pay attention to this burnouts and the person is going through burnout, even if we go behind the emotions of why these burnouts are happening, that is also going to be helpful. And on the other side, if you are able to take some time out
mm.
and work towards those small, small things which can help us. So
Mm.
I'm sure definitely there is a balance, which you can have a work-life balance.
Great. So I think one thing which you mentioned is that if we practice gratitude, maybe through journaling, is something which will really help us
Absolutely.
on a daily basis. And secondly is addressing the emotions that we are feeling and probably talking to someone about it is what is going to help us. And again,
Yes.
seeking real connections that, as you
Yes.
said, not
Yes.
virtual connections, but
Not
real
watching.
connections,
Yes. Yes.
which is what is, I think, one of the reasons why people are so burnt out. Because again,
Absolutely.
most of the people I feel are not staying with their families also because of work or whatever reason. So I think that could be also one of the reasons why most of the people feel burnt out. So yeah, as you said, so I think these three things, if people start doing on their daily basis, they probably might reduce the amount of burnout that they feel or the stress.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a conscious decision to work on this. That is what I feel.
So yeah, I think we had a great conversation. And I would like to ask you one last question since it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So,
Mhm.
often men find it very difficult to label their emotions or be vulnerable or talk to someone about their concerns. And even if they get a hint of judgment from, even a hint of judgment also kind of, keeps them, makes them isolated or cornered sometimes. So, what is your suggestion for men who have emotional concerns but they are not able to do it? So, how would you suggest them to come out and actually seek help?
Okay. So first thing I would say is specifically I would say this for men that more than giving yourself that tag of being a man, if you can call yourself a human, things will become more easier for you. So first of all, that. Second point, I went to when you were saying about an emotional balance. So practically, if I think I've heard it or I've read it in Google, emotional balance has more to do about your, overall well-being. That while you are taking care of yourself at the physical level, emotional level, then it is your mental level, then social level, spiritual level. So when you are talking about all these levels, I feel it all starts from you,
Mhm.
how you are feeling with them. And that is the max that you could work at. Because if you are a person who is trying to fix everything, okay, my job will be better if the boss is different. It's easy to blame on that other person, but somewhere you have to need a fixing which because of which you have attracted that kind of a boss. And here I will tell you a very, very specific thing. Many a times we attract similar kind of people in our life. Okay. So I have seen, and since while during the counseling also we have felt that when a person, when a spouse is not happy with the other spouse, it has something to do with the parental issues that we already had. Also, when there is not a good boss, it has something to do with either the mother who have must have been a little bit controlling. Then, if you are not getting along, this I'm saying specifically for men. I'm not including women over here.
Mm.
And then accept these facts.
Mm.
So, if you are not getting along with your colleague, friend, okay, or best friend, many times the problem is with your father because you both belong to the same sex. So you are having that kind of understanding. If you're getting along, you will get along with most of the people. If you're not able to, then this is the problem. Now, when I talk about journaling, we as women, we tend to accept this fact that journaling is safe. But for men, most of the times they feel, what if somebody reads it? Because the judgment issue of not only being seen, but after hearing us or after reading what we have to write, okay, when we are the genuineness, it scares the thing out of them. We feel too much, and more than anybody else's judgment, it's our own judgment that we make for ourselves. So it comes to all about accept. That is the biggest thing. For that, again, I would say take yourself as a human first. And if you feel you are human, you would definitely believe in things like gratitude,
Mm.
in things like writing a journal, in actually seeing around what are the kind of people around you, whom you are getting influenced. All these things, it matters a lot actually. And I would like to speak. I ride a Royal Enfield actually. And if I go to a place where I feel, okay, these are very evolved people, काफी अच्छी जगह है. If I'm going there, then too I see heads turning. And if I go to a village type of place, there also I see heads turning.
Mhm.
Then it happened so one day I was dealing with a lady, a roadside lady. She was sitting over there. I just parked my bike over there. Then she's asking me, Madam, how are you able to ride such a heavy bike? Then I told her, see, first of all, you don't have to pick up the bike because the bike runs its own mechanism. Second thing is that she was having the concern, being a lady, how am I able to ride this heavy bike? So I told her the bike doesn't understand the difference between the lady and the guy.
Mm.
So it's just absolutely fine. So I think it should not be, and all these aspects now it comes from our prior experiences. कहीं किसी से कुछ सुना है, हम ये कर सकते हैं, नहीं कर सकते हैं. And also I have seen many a times in the men's group now,
Mm.
there are 1 to 2 gems within that group which are ready to pick out all those things like if a person says, "Arey, journaling is good, लड़कियों का काम है."
Ah, correct.
Yeah. So being so when I say socially applicability now, so even being a man, you have to understand whether this group is actually helping you to grow to that level where you want to go. Right? It's very important. And many times for men, leaving a group becomes going out of a comfort zone. I would say try once. Try once because the population is quite huge.
Mm.
You will get people with your same mental well-being. But
Yes.
you have to just come out of that zone and find your own zone.
Correct.
And last, not the least, I would say is uh, we need to respect ourselves because अगर आपके पास कुछ है, आपके अंदर कुछ है, तो ही आप बाहर दे सकते हो.
Mm.
So if
Correct.
you are able to respect yourself within, you will be able to respect people also outside. And that is very huge because they expect a lot of respect and they feel that it is fine. The way we treat it's fine. So I would mention it over here. Please start respecting yourself. Please start respecting your self-worth. More than you expecting the outer people to do that, start respecting yourself. I'm sure when that respect factor is there within you, it will be seen outside also. And when you're respecting the people outside, it will automatically come back to you that
Come
way.
back to you. Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think just like cooking is not related to any gender, it's a life skill. Similarly, I think addressing your mental health or doing something related to it is nowhere related to your gender or your sexual orientation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Can be done by anyone who faces emotional problems, I think. It's nowhere related to, yeah, I think this acceptance thing is a problem in the community of men. But still, I have seen a lot of men addressing like their issues at
Yes,
a very
yes,
deeper level, which is a very good change that is happening,
true,
So like
true.
even like very good famous Bollywood actor, Hollywood actors also, like Rainn
Yes,
Wilson, Matthew Perry also, like he was a drug addict, and how
yes.
he accepted this
Okay. Yes, yes.
his entire life, and he helped others also in that process. So I think once the acceptance is there, I think men have a lot of potential to do only not for themselves but even for others also.
Correct, correct. And yeah, I mean, that's the reason when I talk about not only men, but men or women, the biggest concern for me is first, are you able to accept yourself as humans?
Hmm.
When you have that acceptance, then these genders actually won't mind.
Correct, correct, absolutely.
Then you would feel कि अगर मुझे कोई चीज की तकलीफ हो रही है तो सामने वाले को भी हो रही है और अगर इस चीज से मुझे खुशी हो रही है सामने वाले को भी होगी. That is what I think is
Yeah, and I
underlying
think
statement.
yes, absolutely. Because if men start expressing usually they have a habit of seeking substance abuse as a solution to their issues. So like it's a
Correct,
general thing. Like even when I have conversations with my male friends, so like for example, a friend of mine, he was just expressing his self, whatever issues he was going through. So my other friend who was also a guy, he said, "Arey, chhod na ye sab, chal daru peene chalte hai." So this is the kind of
correct. Yes,
conversations happen. So even if men who are coming out of that web and trying to express themselves also, then the other men who are actually not in that phase, they kind of, say these things, ki, "Arey, these things are not very important. You can just forget these things by just having an alcohol or probably smoking a cigarette. So these are the things which are there. But yeah, still things have changed over the period a lot. I even see like men also doing so much today towards mental health and spirituality also. So yeah, I think it's
correct.
taking time, but it will eventually, I think, happen.
Yeah, I believe we are having now both the kinds of monks in this world,
Hmm.
where one monk is right now also saying that we are not supposed to be doing this. But there are people who are conscious enough to say, I left that long behind. You are yet carrying it that
Right.
way.
Absolutely, very true.
So, yeah,
So thank you, Sumanji, for having this wonderful conversation and discussion on mental health and practical solutions also on what one should be practicing in their daily lives to balance their emotional and mental well-being and how also that impacts their physical well-being also. So thank you for shedding some light on that part as well.